Ever dream of a global career but land smack into a financial crisis in a new country, not knowing a word of English? That's the wild ride our next guest, Ryota Hayashi, co-founder and CEO of Finatext Holdings, took at the beginning of his journey. But Ryota's story isn't just about weathering storms. It's about emerging stronger with a will powered by optimism, which, coincidentally, is the perfect segue to the title of his talk, Optimism is of Will. Ryota's entrepreneurial path has been paved with challenges, from his wife's postpartum depression after the birth of their first child to facing product flops and nearly 2 years of zero revenue. But through it all, Ryota's unwavering optimism has kept him going. In this episode, he shares his hard-earned wisdom, the grit it takes to persevere, and maybe even a laugh or two about the absurdities of the startup world. Here is Ryota-san.
I'm Bond, James Bond, probably not. So welcome to Japan, first of all. And then I have to say, you guys know Japan must be pretty famous for probably sushi, tempura, whatever. But what I can say in this season, pollen. There's so much pollen, and I have a hay fever. So typically, I'm pretty optimistic, but today I'm a little bit less optimistic. So let me share my story to begin with. As a typical Japanese, when you want to get a job from college, most of Japanese people go to Japanese companies to work with. So I was one of those who wanted to go global and thought, hey, why don't just simply go to UK to work with? Then I went to UK, but as was introduced, I couldn't speak English at all. And then also, when I went to UK back in 2008, that was the just right 10 days after the Lehman crisis. But funny enough, I tried to do the many interviews with, well, by the way, finally I went to the Deutsche Bank. So I went to the Deutsche Bank's interview, and then I still remember the interviewer said, what is your strong selling point? But what I said is, yeah, I'm pretty positive and pretty cool. That's what I said. Then actually, funny enough, I was offered a job as an engineer at the Deutsche Bank. I was the first in the global history that Japanese people get a job in UK, Deutsche Bank London. So I was pretty surprised. A lot of people are actually surprised. How did you even get a job in Deutsche Bank in UK? But I just simply applied, and I said, like, look, I just trying to pitch myself. And hence I get it. So since then, that was 2008, like nearly 10 years ago. So I thought, you know what? I mean, if you're being like kind of positive, if you're trying to do what you can trying to do, you can probably get a result. That's what I learned. Before I jump into my founding story, I was in Deutsche, and as introduced, the day I joined, and 3 months after, 80% of the people were wiped out my desk. And I thought I was in the investment bank. Cool, I'm gonna be rich, right? But and like 80% of people are gone. And I was like, I called my parents, Mom, I'm probably gonna be fired, and because I got the Deutsche Bank job, but like I can't even get paid. But at that time too, my first trial was to say, hey, I talked to the global head of the desk to say, look, I will do whatever I can do. And then I'll just do whatever I can do. So give me a job. And then he said, okay, fine. Why don't you fly over to Europe, continental Europe? And it's hence because all people in continental Europe were fired. Yeah, I was the head of Europe because I was the only one, right? So, and all of a sudden the market came back, and then so all of a sudden back then I was like 24. I was like, head of Europe. I write in the CV now, head of continental Europe. So, being optimistic, especially when you had a negative event, the first move is very important. So I found a company after I quit the Deutsche Bank at a company called Finatext. So back then it was like 2013, 14. It was a good time, Still, fintech was the early days. Robo Advisor was a fintech. UI UX was a fintech. But so we were funded, and then clearly, I thought, have you guys watched the movie The Social Network? Yeah, Social Network. So before you release the service, before you release the actual service, you feel you will be a unicorn next day. Yeah, once you click the button, release the service, you will be a unicorn. That's what I thought as well. So I started a company, and then we built a service. Actually, the service was called Finatext, and then I clicked it, and you know what? Nobody responded. And even some friend told me, like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What is this even service about? Nothing happened. Literally nothing. So, I was like, God, what should I do? But I thought, this can be a story, man. This can be a story. So, and what happened was, right, this founding member of this sixth founding member, I told him, mate, this things will be our story, our founding story. So I was like, these guys are cool. Because we didn't have a job. What happened was, we didn't have a job. So what happened, every night we had a dinner together. Hence, we are very good friends. Hence, after 10 years later, still they're in our companies. All the founding members haven't left. So what happened, like, nothing happened, zero revenue, still our attitude, our mood was good. So you have a sub effect that the founding member was good. Our founding member hasn't left, and then our teamwork was pretty strong. Everything is like flip and flop. When you have a bad thing, typically there's always a great thing in the back end. So that's what I learned even more. So we started slowly growing the business, like because we're lucky enough we get into the trend of the fintech boom, and then then like I still remember 2018, 19 when we were getting ready for IPO. There were like massive deal with like massive enterprises, and then I was like, I was told in the morning that we were in the very right phase to be chosen which partner to be at the very last minute, and then I got a call from the CEO of that enterprise and say, hey, Ryota, sorry, we can't choose you. This is not, we have to cancel your deal. I was like, man, like we're preparing IPO, man. Like this is gonna be a big fail. But the first time, once I hear that negative story, I directly just trying to directly go into that like executive office, say, look, just rethink it, yeah? Please, just don't make this as a final decision. Funny enough, I did it, and then a week later, when we always forget it, I got a call from this executive, and then he said, look, your competitor has withdrawn our request for proposal. Hence, you got a deal. I mean, look, probably it sounds like luck. Yeah, it sounds like nothing to do with optimism. But those things happen a lot to me. Those things happen a lot. Once you have a strong negative event, and if you keep it up and you're positive mode, typically the good news, good result will come from where you completely don't expect. So I learned that a lot, and then I even confirmed even more. So that attitude was pretty challenged when my wife got pretty ill when we got the first kid. But still, what happened that I keep it very optimistic as much as possible, and then I overcome together with my wife, because my first kid was born and my wife was completely ill. However, I leverage it and make it optimistic. I keep it in my optimism, and I leverage it to make an insurance product as using my story of the tough time. So I overcome many challenges, 10 years, and finally we went IPO. That was 2021 November. That was a good time. I call it Asian era, yeah? There was PSR. The PSR is gone, by the way. So PSR 24 times. Market valuation of $700 million. You guys, sounds like this is the end of success story? Absolutely not. We experienced the stock loss in the first day in 20 years time, yeah? I thought this could be the great success end story. Actually, we had another problem. We had another challenges. What I can say is there's always challenge. There's always challenge going on forever. But if you keep up your mood and attitude positively, the good things will happen. Thank you very much for listening.